Welcome back to the Fly Culture Podcast. It's that time of year again where we reflect on what has passed and what is to come. Christmas is just a few days away and it's the season of goodwill. But I've picked up a 12-foot spey rod and given the Christmas Grinch a good hard poke to continue the little tradition we've got going about his thoughts on the world of fishing at this time of year. I'm really pleased to have James Gilbraith along for his Christmas address to us all. But it's great to have you back. This is a neat little tradition we're getting going. How are you, my friend?
I'm great, thanks, Pete. I'm starting to have a reputation for my Christmas frivolity.
And I'm looking forward to hearing, I know we've been talking off mic a little bit and we've both been talking that it's this brinkmanship with decorations. This has been recorded on the 16th. We've still got none up here. Are you got the decorations up yet? Are you ready into that scheme of things yet?
Well, my family totally ignore me and do not involve me in any kind of Xmas prep. The front room is like Santa's grotto. That Rose has done up. I'm not joking. We could power a small community with the amount of electricity going through there at the minute. And I've noticed that in my sanctuary, my back room where my open fire and my records is, there's now been some lights draped over a couple of paintings. So it's creeping into like my space now. But I've mentioned it, and all I get is a grin. And obviously, I blame Charles Dickens for all of this. Never in the history of literature has one character been more responsible for landfill and waste as Scrooge. Is synonymous. The minute you say you're not into Christmas, somebody, what do they call you? They go, oh, Scrooge, check out Scrooge. And it's a stick they beat you with every year. No matter what point you're trying to make, are going, you know what, it's a bit over the top. Maybe, just maybe, if we gave used things to each other, the world would be a better... No, shut up, Scrooge. And he can't have known, can he, when he were writing it, that A Christmas Carol would still be mentioned 20 million times every Christmas. There isn't a character in literature that I can think of that is more synonymous with misery than Scrooge. You know, he nailed it, didn't he?
Yeah.
Dickens, what a bastard.
So we're nearly through. Well, we're coming into it. We're going to be through it as quickly as we come into it. Have you got a busy one coming up?
No, really relax. Me and my mate have got a hellish 3-story house move to do on Friday, and then we've finished. So I'm working way up to that. I'm touching my toes and limbering up and trying to keep myself in shape to get one more job done, and then we're finished. And then my mum has just gone in. Thankfully, my mum's been in a home for Alzheimer's now for 9 months, and it's been an absolute godsend. The hardest decision we ever made as a family, horrible, but we had to do it. And it's been a breath of fresh air because she's safe and happy, and we have now got our time back. So she's coming on Christmas Day. My mum's coming on Christmas Day with my sister, and a few other friends are popping round. Friends who are on their own, we always invite them round on Christmas, and then we go walking. I might take in I think Blackburn Rovers have got Sunderland at home on Boxing Day, so I might go to that. And then just dog walks and lots of out by the river, a bit of grayling fishing if it's not too nasty outside.
That sounds, actually, if you take the Christmas bit out of it, that sounds like a really nice period, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's a good weekend, isn't it? Yeah. That is it. It's just the build-up's absurd, isn't it? How people build it up. You know, you're not allowed to, joking apart, you're not allowed to ignore it. You can't avoid it. And anyone who does, you're touring with the Scrooge ticket.
So I think we're going to know the answer to this, or the first part of it. Anyway, my first question is, we start by rating your excitement meter for Christmas and how it compares to your rating for the fishing season that has just passed. So one's being crappy, 10 is being most excellent.
Right.
Where do you rate both of them?
Christmas, 0. Nothing. Nil pois for Christmas. Fishing season, 11. 11. Can't wait. Can't wait for April. Really looking forward to it. You know, I try too hard, Pete, but that's part of the game, innit? That's who you are. I try to. At the beginning of a season, I'm like, you know, the nature documentaries. You had a guy on the other day who films Birds of Paradise. That's me, right? I'm like that. I get me space set up. I've got the flashy feathers. I'm trying like mad, trying to be successful. And then you get through the season and slowly it erodes you. And from a bird of paradise, you end it up to be like a pigeon outside Greg's. You know?
I know
And you're going,
exactly what you mean, and we've talked about it before, haven't we? Where we question. I know you've caught some fish, and we'll come on to that. But I was lucky enough, and I know I was sending you pictures of ones I caught in Scotland. But at home, I'm sort of still going through this spell of probably not going to catch anything. I'm trying too hard. I'm trying everything. I'm probably missing the obvious, or I'm just sort of thinking, second guessing everything I do. And I'm at this stage now in December that I've sat down. I watched this really cool program on Great Lakes steelhead, and I just enjoyed watching them catching some fish. And I thought, right, sod it. At this stage in December, I'm thinking, right, I'm going back to just fishing traditional salmon flies. That's going to be it. I'm not going to do anything else. I know when March comes along, I'll be completely different, but I'm trying to gear myself to think, right, okay, I'm going to catch not very much. So I'm going to do it with an element of style, and I'm going to keep those flies on. I'm going to try my real utmost to do that. And is that something, like you say, that erosion of faith that goes away? Do you sort of still second guess everything and think, right, well, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that? But you're sort of, because we're not doing it, it's easier to formulate a picture in your mind, isn't it?
uh, well, absolutely. And because of the cycle, so in a way, we need winter. You need close season. You need to step back, don't you? So I'm glad when it's 31st of October and I'm ready for it. But what helps then is the build up of hope. And as the days get lighter and longer, so does you can see the wheel turning of the year, and that you can't help but come March, you're filled with like a blind optimism again. You forgot all the bad days, and you know that you're gonna, trying to stop a running fish from March till August last year, joking apart, nearly killed me. Right? I love salmon fishing. I love where I live. I love the River Ribble. I absolutely love it. So I'm there every lift. And some years you get one lift every 2, 3 weeks. We had a lift every week. I were out on the river, perfect water, what you consider perfect water, not seeing anything, but I've got me set up, got me rod, I'm cover everything I own. I love it. I've got all my bits and bobs, and I'm flowing. I've really got the bit between my teeth. And then it just slowly, you get through. April slips past, May slips past. You've been out 9 times. You've done the odd. You've fished your favourite pools. Then you're thinking, right, where else can I go? Right, I'll try this bit. I'll try that bit. Then you start going through all the bits in your box where your favourite flies are failing. I still haven't seen a fish at this point. Months and months. And then to the point in August where I remember I was walking off at about 8 o'clock at night, having fished after work from like 3 till 7 or something. And I just shouted at the sky. I just like lost my shit and went, for fuck's sake, come on. There's God, for fuck's sake. And what had really done me is that I had about 3 or 4 friends and they'd all caught fish and I couldn't buy a pull, you know. But that will all be forgotten in March and I'll be up to trot and I'll be chomping at the bit to get out, you know. And you can't run away from who you are, can you? No matter how many self-help books you read or whatever else it is, you're always going to be you. And I am an optimist. And I will be absolutely legging it out the door in March when we get a lift. And I will really think that I'm going to catch a springer. Really think, you know, will it happen? But, you know, So I'm like you. I try and have a plan and stick to it. But as the year slides past and the conditions change and whatever, you're willing to do anything. You know what I mean? If someone had said to me, listen, do you want to sell a kidney? I'd go, fucking hell, I've got 2. I've got 2. You know, fucking hell, yeah. You know, I would have done a deal at the Crossroads that night in August.
So do you think this optimism that comes round again, do you think part of it is that it's more than just the fish, despite it's not catching any?
Yeah. I love the hope and the chance just to be in the mix. You know what I mean? I suppose sportsmen get it. You know, when you're on a football pitch and you think, I just want to get a chance. If I get a chance, but you're in the game, aren't you? And that's what I feel. I'm in the game, and I know the game, and the game knows me, and that's it. It gives me my definition in life. Do you know what I mean? I love that element of it. When people are thinking, "Oh, I can't wait to get home and stick someone on the telly," I'm looking out the window thinking, "Right, in an hour and a half, I'll be on river," you know, and having a roll at dice. And I'm not one of these who's always looking back thinking, oh, this river should have more salmon in it. I just want to go fishing. You know, if I get one, I get one. You know, and I know that if I don't try, I won't get one. And I love trying, you know. So, yeah, it is very much part of it. I don't go through the door thinking I'm going to, you know, I better catch one. I hope. And that's different, you know. And then all the brilliant things that happen to you while you're out. There's no story, is there, if you don't go? Do you know what I mean? All the weird, stupid things that you see, you know. In the new book, I've got a sliding scale of stress, right? So when I walk through the door, Amri will say, have you had a nice time, love? Because that's what reasonable people do, isn't it? They ask you if you've had a nice time. So now, rather than me have to explain salmon fishing, I go, if it's just been an average day, I go, yeah, I saw a heron. And she goes, oh, that's nice, love. And I go, yes, it is nice. And we're civil. So that's herons number 1. And then all the way down to number 5, which is osprey. We've never had an osprey type moment because that means you can't no longer see vocabulary anymore. You only see colours. You're in that much of a rage. So I'll say, oh, I've seen a kingfisher. And it's very much like she's Henry Higgins and I'm Eliza Doolittle. You know, it's and that's my sliding scale. So I don't have to say, oh, I haven't had a pull. I've only had brownies. So she goes, oh, that's nice, love. And I go, yes, it is nice. That's very nice. And then I go down to the cellar and I weep into my waders.
It's amazing what this does to us. And I'm thinking about also I was saying about the tactical changes of plan and, like we say, having this plan to start the season with, but changing it. Do you also think that's part of the fun, either consciously or subconsciously?
Oh, without a doubt. You've got to have choices, haven't you? You know, and we've a pocket full of choices, haven't we? We've a pocket full of choices, and the nuances frame it, don't they? The nuances frame it. You know, I have to bite my lip when I bump into someone and they say, "Oh, that they've had one," and because I want to be, I'm not going to be the one to ask. I'm not asking. I'm going to wait, but I hope someone else who I'm with goes, oh, what did you get it on? Because it's like accepting charity. I'm not having it. So, but then later on, you'll be in a group chat on WhatsApp, and you go, oh yeah, what did Paul get that on? You know, you'll ask privately, but you won't ask publicly. You know, so no, we've all sorts of silly little things going on, haven't we? But I tell you, the one thing that seems to be a real common denominator is scruffy flies. Scruffy flies are doing the business, you know, as opposed to something that you put on Christmas tree. Do you know what I mean? Thinly tied, you know, everything. It's a standing joke, but they've done the willy gun to death, haven't they? You know, but like a threadbare willy gun or something like that, a variant on that pattern. You know, some of these flies that my mates have caught salmon on this year, they've got like 3 bits of hair on them, and you're going, what is that? It's an hook. We're like the very loosely tied stuff, and so you just never know. You just never know. So we're trying everything in the course of a year. Everything that's in my box will get a swim. Just depends, you know. But you tend to. I've thrown the big decorations out. I don't have anything that looks new. You know, that's my thing. And because I buy so much secondhand tackle as part of my job, I've got so many boxes full of like these salmon flies, and they all look brilliant in box. Don't they? They all look brilliant in box. And then you put one on and you're going, Jesus, this thing's not right.
It's funny, there's a comfort in it, and I know you've written about the Alan Shearer and other things along the way, but there is a comfort having something that looks really, really nice, isn't there? That you think, right, well, this will be fantastic. And I've just been stocking up on grayling flies because I don't tie anymore. But it's also fascinating what you say about the scruffy flies, the beaten up flies. That tells us something as well about the fish when it's in biting mood as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're all looking for magic fly, aren't we? I mean, we've spent hundreds of years looking for everyone with a fly vice is looking for the magic fly. But yeah, what I've found is that there's nothing that I won't try, but also it's really weird that when they're having it, when you do get a tech, they're not shy, and you just think flipping it, they've walloped that. So what I think now is that, you know, if they're there and then everything else is right, you know, taking temperature and everything, you've half a chance. I'm very much, it don't really matter that much, do you know? So you've got to be happy with it. Can you cast it? I've seen so many people who've got things on that are too heavy and it doesn't match what they're using. You know, that's the biggest thing. If you've got a nice presentation and it's casting nicely, that you're not doing much wrong. Do you know what I mean? Size of fly is a big thing. We probably don't use anything smaller than a 10, really, most of the year. 12s and 10s, you know, seem to be the thing. But again, casting and presentation is important. You know, yourself, if you're having a dog day and you can't cast some lump across, even though you think it's getting down or whatever is going through your head, it once you've got that set up and it's casting nice, you can fish a lot more comfortably, can't you? You know, and that's more important sometimes, just having that rhythm. Getting in that rhythm is everything, isn't it?
Yeah. And are you fast down a pool? Because I read something, I think it was Topher Brown said, it's better to fish fast down a pool and then fish it again rather than fish slowly. But which camp do you jump into?
Well, obviously, if there's other people on the river, I'm quick. I don't hang about. I'm quick through cast and step. If I'm on a pool where I've had success before and there's no one waiting to get in behind me, which is most of the time, to be fair, I'll probably do 3 casts and I'll step, you know, and just cover the water like that. Especially because on the Ribble, some pools will fish on a certain height and then other pools will fish. So if you've got in the right pool, I'd rather do that, get through and go round again quick. rather than jumping about and fishing a pool that wasn't quite right, just for the sake of it. And I've done enough of that, So as I get older, I'm like, well, no, this is the spot to be in today. So there's no one coming. So I'm going to get through this maybe 4 times in a morning, especially when it is the right height and everything's coming round at the right pace and you don't have to mend, if you know yourself, like in that rhythm, that. So I'm a bit both really, but I do not like holding other people up. I'd rather they get in front of me and I'll go in after, because I get so much time on the river that if I see some guy, I'm not going to make him hang on behind me, get in, But yeah, Topher Brown, you can go through a pool, can't you? If you're Topher Brown and you're over about 2 million salmon. Do you know what I mean? I would fish fast. I'm looking for the salmon, not not they, not them. I'm looking for the.
You say something really interesting about etiquette and politeness, and I'm exactly the same. I'm far too polite, and if someone did happen to be behind me, I'd probably fish it too quickly for my own good because I'd worry about them a little bit more. And it's always been important to me, and I've talked about it a number of times. And it was quite funny that I was fishing with Ben Jayler in a boat, and he'd caught a fish. I was flailing about, but he'd caught a fish, and somebody just came in front of us and drifted straight in front of us. And you think, really? And it's quite
Yeah,
funny to see those things, isn't
yeah,
it? And I'm like
yeah.
making it perfect. I'm like double teapotting, but he didn't care. If you've got the front to come in front of somebody, a stern look and a double teapot isn't going to frighten someone off, is it?
No, and some people are just oblivious. Thankfully, you don't meet them often. You don't meet them often. When you do, it does great. It does great. There's just ways to be in there. And as my old engineering teacher used to say to us, courtesy costs nothing. That's the main thing in it. Just we're all sharing. But yeah, chopping you up on on a drift. That's no good. Getting chopped up.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit punchy, I've got to say, and he just didn't care and
No.
caught a fish, which rubbed salt into my wound even more. But, I guess sometimes people have got to do those sorts of things.
Well, I
And
just think that they've got to karma and they've got to live like that, haven't they?
yeah,
I'd rather be the other way and let other people get through and have a nice day. I'll catch a fish. I've not caught my last fish ever. You know what I mean? I'm going to catch another fish, but it won't be at the expense of you. you know.
yeah, absolutely. So you've talked about being number 11 on the most excellent scale for excitement for next year, obviously 0 for Christmas. How do you rate this season? Because you did catch some fish, didn't you?
Yeah, I've had a brilliant, joking apart, and it's been really challenging, but I like that. It's been really, really, really challenging. When I thought I wasn't going to get one on the fly, I mean, I were panicking a little bit because I just didn't think it were ever going to happen. And, my mate had a 20 and, but everybody I remember we did this last year and I said that them 2 blokes with a bucket had said that we're going to have a year where we have 10% better. They were right. They were right. I think last year the Ribble there were about 150 fish caught approximately. Yeah. And I think this year it'll be between 200 and 300. So there has been. So I would imagine, without putting my neck on line, be about 250 to 300 fish caught this year. Most of my friends have had 5 plus. I've had 5. One of my friends has had 7. Another lad's had 8. And these are all guys who aren't. They put the time in. They're on it. And most of them have been back end fish. There were a few springers caught, but I've really, really, really enjoyed the challenge, and I've loved getting out, and I've loved, when I actually did get hold of one, it was so brilliant. But also, I had some fun. I went up onto the River Eden, had one and lost one there. and I've had a few on the shrimp off the ribble, and I love doing that. So that were excellent, and I lost a couple as well. So yeah, we're in amongst them, and it were really good. You don't see so many fish, running, but you just know they're there, and you've just got to keep at it, And thankfully, I'm not one of these who bore me little meltdown moment. Uh, I'm not one of these who's going to come home and mourn and go, "Oh, that's me. I'm not fishing anymore." I'm going to go. Well, I'll go out again. I like swinging flies, Pete. And then if you get one, it's a bonus. I love it. I absolutely love it. And the Eden was a revelation. We went up there for a day. I met a guy who'd been on 3 times on a day ticket, and he had 3 on his first visit, 3 on his second day, and 3 on his third day. So there's fish about. He knew what he'd doing. He was an accomplished angler, like. All on fly as well, all on fly. And so, yeah, that was really enjoyable. We went up there for 2 days, and we had a laugh, that was the main job. And I think I got one and lost one, and the other lad on our party got one as well. So yeah, it was good. But the season I've been in between. I've been grayling fishing, and I've been brown trout fishing, and I've been fishing for chub on a little river called the River Calder in June. Just fishing streamers, and the River Calder goes through some big industrial like towns, and you don't really fish it. It's more like you give it a colonoscopy. You know what I mean? It's not. It's a colon cleanse. Me fishing on there for that. But amazing. I had some really nice. I've had a £6 chub. I've had a £4 chub on a 3-weight rod, which were brilliant. And I had about another 6 or 7 chub, all up to about £2. And I had a £6 pike, all on 3-weight. So tremendous fun. Just swinging streamers, loved it on this little so I had to do that in summer just to get my head right from not catching anything ever. I thought I need to get a better bend in my rod, So I went up the River Calder, and it were ace, absolutely ace, loved it.
That was a proper full house you've had there as well then. So a nice little mix of stuff. And I know you talked to me, we were talking, I can't remember what it was, about euronymphing for grayling and all those sorts of things as well. And that's sort of, like you said, you're going to be heading out in the winter to go fish them. And that sort of, it's lucky that if it's to cleanse from not catching any salmon, but having all these lovely options available is key as well, isn't it?
Oh, I really like having a change. There's something about it. I did something a month ago where I I had a float rod that I bought when I was 15, a Kevin Ashurst Sunridge 13-foot match rod. So I got my old Mitchell reel out, got a little float, got a pint of maggots in my waistcoat, all in my wellies, and I went up the River Calder again, and I put a little bob float on that I had, proper, made me feel like a kid. And honestly, it was so gratifying just to feel. So on my first run down with double maggot, float gets absolutely buried, bang, grayling straight away. I got 9 in an hour, and it were electrifying. I was so excited. As the 56-year-old bloke, right, with the rod that he bought with his pocket money that he'd put away, and I absolutely adored it. It were brilliant, proper reignited summer that I think was a little bit dormant in me. So that were absolutely brilliant. You know what I mean? So I've not been back Euro nymphing, but I will. But just that little, I wanted it easy. I wanted low hanging fruit. I've done hard a lot. I'm sick of hard. I want something that's easy, and that were easy, joyous, and it just reignited something in me, loved it. And I got some. I didn't get a massive grayling. I kept thinking, next one I'm going to get one £2. Here we go, But I got one about £1.5, which were good, and rest were between £0.75 and £1.50. Bloody great.
Nice, like your style, and it is part of that as well. Often at this time of year, I see people talk about trotting gear for grayling, and people, I guess, many are thinking and feeling like we do of, oh, I'm getting excited about that, or like you've just said about the maggots for grayling and trotting for grayling, just to try something completely different. Give it a go, and it just keeps you simmering nicely, doesn't it? And keeps you
Yeah.
interested in the game on different levels. But one of the things I wanted to ask you this year, I've been trying to understand from people how fishing looks right now. And I know we've previously talked about fishing clubs and you're involved with fishing clubs. And how's that looking from your club perspective? And are you getting new members? Are you seeing growth? Are you seeing contraction? What is your feel on it?
Well, I've just left a club I've been in for 14 years. I've just left Ribblesdale Anglers, just because something had to give. I were a little bit bored, fishing the same waters over and over and over again. I felt like I'd done it. And they have an healthy waiting list. I don't think it ever dips under 10, Pete. 120 members with 10 on waiting list. So if you want to join, you probably have a 12-month waiting list, if that. And I think people's expectations are shifting. So you're no longer joining Ribblesdale Anglers because we're going to catch 40 salmon a year. You're going to catch a fair amount of grayling. You're going to catch. You can fly fish for chub. You can catch a lot of brown trout, and you might get some sea trout, and you might get a salmon. That's how that's changed. But we're not losing. They're not losing members. I'm hopefully rejoining a club that I were in for 20 years down the river, because I want to fish down there again in spring, and it's like 3 times the size of the river down there, and I find it so exciting. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going down there, but also you can fish for barbel, chub. There's more you can do down there. It's got more variety, but also I know it like the back of my hand down there. So I've worked out where I'm going to stand and where I'm going to catch a springer in April, and it's further down the Ribble. So I've come out of this up here at Clitheroe to fish like 8 miles downstream, really. But I'm still in Clitheroe Anglers at Grindleton, so I've still got some fishing up here. But first part of the year, I'm fishing down there. Then in summer, I'm going to be up on the Eden, and then back end, I'll be fishing at Clitheroe. So that's how I'm doing it. But all the clubs, I try and stay out of it, because it just seems to be most people just moan, and that does no good to anybody. I just want to go fishing. As Lamont said the other day, I'm not in the fishing industry. I'm in the river. So that's our take on it. We want to just fish, and the less hauteur, the better. So, but the clubs on the Ribble, I mean, as a course fishery, Pete, you can't beat it. So if you have got the ability to target course fish with a fly rod, the world's your oyster on here. Really is. So that most of the clubs I know are doing all right. There's a couple of game fishing clubs, and I know because they've set the stall out to be just game fishing clubs, they're the ones who are going to get a nosebleed.
Good point. And, what you're saying there about the various species is, I think, probably where fishing is going to go to a degree, because people will be looking away. Like you said, at summertime, you can't fish for salmon, so you might fish for trout, or you might fish for chub, and that's what we're seeing. And we're seeing people go to the coast as well, those sorts of things. So, that being flexible, being pragmatic about what you have as well probably helps a little bit, I would think, for the future of things. And
just enjoying it.
Yeah.
Just enjoy your fishing. Just enjoy your fishing. Don't get hung up on the finery of it. Get out, and then reverse engineer it, but just go. Just go. You'll have a good time. You'll figure it out. You will find a fish you can catch. Just have to wait But once you get out with your mate, what's better than having a wander and a natter and a gas and, whatever you're targeting. Do you know what I mean? And that's where I'm at now. Go fishing. Won't cure itself on Facebook. You know what I mean? They've been having the same arguments on a few groups on Facebook for 15 years. Nothing gets resolved except people leave the sport because they don't think they'll ever catch anything. And all it does is put people off.
Yeah, you're right. Enjoy it for exactly what it is. And that's what we've, in our modest, tiny little way, been trying to say. It's all good. And the fish are a happy byproduct of it as well. But I wanted to move on a little bit. And you're going to read a section from your book, Anarchy Pie, for listeners. If you haven't read or bought James or Boo's books, you should do. They're a wonderful contemporary look at fly fishing that will make you smile and resonate with you as well. But you're going to read a little bit for us. What bit are you going to read for us?
I'm going to read chapter 7 from Anarchy Pie, and it's called Tangled Up in Boo. And it pretty much sums up, I tried to capture like the rhythm of my life. So I've left a job that I didn't really like, that I'd had enough of in 2015 and started my own business. And purely so that I could be more flexible, so that I could find a balance where I could fish more, be creative, write, make stuff. But first, there is nothing without my fishing. So that's what I did. I left work and I started up buying and selling antiques. And now I do about 4 things. Do you know what I mean? Talk about master and none. You're looking at him, right? But I have a lovely little balance where if the river drops in the next hour, that's where I'll be. And, so I've tried to capture that in this chapter called Tangled Up in Boo, which, is a Bob Dylan Tangled Up in Blue, really. But believe you me, I am tangled up in Boo. So, yeah, this is chapter 7. And this is an excerpt from pretty much my diary in 2021. So it's the 26th of October, 2021. Season status, blanking. Having been all smiles at the start of the season, I'm now starting to worry that I might blank. I know it's happened to better anglers than me, but for whatever reason, I've never gone through a whole season without a catch before, and I don't want to break that habit now. I'm determined that my season won't end up in a skip fire. But as the 31st of October, close season, slides ever closer, I'm starting to twitch and feel cornered. Now, I might come across like I have serenity all sewn up, but don't you fucking kid yourself. I might not need to catch them all, but I want to at least nab one. To me, the blank is a vulgar dark corridor, a hole in my soul, a void. Very immature, I know. And when that dark day finally arrives, of course, I reluctantly take it on the chin. But until that happens, I will do everything in my power to swerve it. I've tied powerful, supernatural flies, using carefully found and gathered feathers from magical birds, including ravens, magpies, and jackdaws. I've walked over Pendle Hill backwards, with them all in my pocket, while offering chants of praise to Terence. Ceremonies have been performed before every lift, but not a pull has been felt or a fin spotted. Since taking voluntary redundancy from the cracker factory in 2015, my career path has been one motorbike jump too many. A series of failed stunts swimming against the flow in a seemingly ever-decreasing circle. My case file reads as follows: opened an antique shop, lost and found. Then 3 years later, closed the antique shop, moved to a staffed retail space in an antique centre in Preston. But despite lumbering on as best I could, with another 40 street-savvy antique dealers sharing the same building, it was only ever going to be a brutal fight for a knife in the mud. Not my scene. Finally, COVID arrived and made my mind up for me. My balloon was descending at an alarming rate, leaving me breathlessly blowing up into the gaping cavity in a desperate attempt to stay aloft. Honestly, Pete, I was like Wile E. Coyote for a couple of fucking months. The writing was so clearly on the wall. Economic freefall and a bloodbath for small businesses. Any dead weight had to be jettisoned. Fat had to be trimmed. And believe me, there wasn't much of that. A tactical withdrawal took place all the way back to my small unit in Clitheroe, where the business comprised of me, my van, and my unit, operating under a model that became very fluid, i.e., hand to mouth and scheme to scheme. Meanwhile, heavy rainfalls put the river out of commission, so I'm here in my unit, standing over a 6x3 canvas while trying to make something from nothing. Since 2015, I've been selling my own abstract paintings, born mostly out of boredom and a necessity for original stock. I started hanging my own unsigned works in my shop. Just like fishing, I simply waited to see what happened. On one occasion, a particularly elegant and sophisticated customer picked out 2 of my pieces from a gallery of around 10 established artists and asked, "Do you know who painted these?" After explaining rather nervously and uncomfortably that I had no idea who had painted these pictures, but they had been clearly inspired by Mark Rothko. "They obviously have great flair and passion," the customer said with a nod. "Those are my thoughts too," I replied. That customer went on to buy 4 of my paintings. Gradually I sold more, even had 2 commissioned. So now, when all else fails, I paint. And I bloody love it. In my unit, I have a vintage Sharp VZ2000 boombox that I hook up to my iPod, and as I paint, dance and sing to a playlist, I feel very free. Vibrant, honest energy intertwines with joy, pain, happiness and sadness. My work is always spontaneous. Never quite knowing which direction I will go in is very much part of the buzz. Sometimes it's a case of capturing topics like monotony and repetition, or it can just be abstract landscapes or places that I've been fishing. Moments, memories, and emotions are all one with the notes and strokes, energy transferred and reshaped. The painting I'm working on for over a week is taking shape. It's been done to the tune of Run the Jewels brand of belligerent hip hop, along with a more sedate track, Hard Times by Baby Huey. Hard Times on repeat for 6 or more plays. I'm wearing a Star Trek engineer's paint splattered boiler suit. I'm off grid. Nobody knows where my unit is. I don't want visitors. I want to be totally tangled up in boo. At the same time, my eyes on the clock because the river will be dropping in nicely, and with more rain forecast to be on the way, my window of opportunity is narrowing fast. One more decent lift of water and it's game over for the season. Time to let the paint dry and get myself to another arresting realm. Part 1. We'll do the second half after.
Beautiful, my friend. Great work. Tell us, you've alluded to on previous podcasts and in this one, you've got something new that's, how close is it now?
I'm 5 chapters in, so that I'm about a third through. And it is, I think, probably my most rounded work to date. Writing the first 3 books, you kind of got to skin your knees a little bit, haven't you? There's unless it hurts a little bit, you're not doing it right. And in this one, so we've got Ahab's book. So I'm going through all this 50 years of the river, some of the lies that he's been exploring and where he's had fish. The clubs have changed, so I haven't got access to them. fortunately for me, Lamont has gone completely off grid. He's not in any fishing clubs anymore. And he has challenged me that he's actually going to fish more. He's not got a license. I'm not advocating this. Kids, join clubs. So he's going to go and fish wherever these chapters lead him. And he's going to try and blend in. Like last year, he fished in a club. He blagged that he was a guest, right, of John's. He just said John. He ended up having a brew and a sandwich with the chairman of the club who thought he was a guest of someone else, right? Honestly. So he's doing all. So I've unleashed him like the Kraken on the Ribble, and he's gone up it. So he's on the Ribble, the Loon. No club is safe. Be on the lookout. If you see a guy that looks a bit like he should be drumming for cream, apprehend him. So that's where we are now. We're just exploring those books at the minute, and I'm 4 chapters in. It will be finished in March, and I am loving it. And getting back to what my cycle is. Now the season finishes, I'll do a little bit of fishing, but it's quiet at work, Pete. Antiques, that's another thing. There's not enough antiques given at Christmas. Right? So it's dead. Till February, it's antiques trade's dead. So that's my perfect time, rather than just twiddle my thumbs and do nothing, to create something. I paint in the summer when it's dry, and I can paint outside. I like painting outside, especially my big action paintings. I like being able to properly get out, and I like how it dries outside as well. But so that's what I'm doing. I'll write over the winter, and that fills that void of having nothing to do, But I'm building it up every journey while I'm out. Something will get added to my book, added to my notebooks, and I'll just then it'll just become a story, and then it's just which direction I need to take it in. So it opens with the last piece I did for Fly Culture. This is a photograph. Well, that was I think about 1,800 words. That's now 5,000 words. So I've embellished that. Really took it on. So the premise of that is go outside and try and fly. Lift your arm. So that's part of that. And then in that is the sliding scale of kingfisher, egret, grey egret, otter, osprey. And like I said, we've never had an osprey incident. So all that's in there as well. What's your safe word? We've worked out that if you're a salmon fisherman, you need a safe word. Where before it all gets too much, you need to fucking turn that shit off. So yeah, the book's going great. So I'm really enjoying it. I'll let Anne-Marie read each chapter as it's finished, and she's laughing. So that's my barometer. If a non-angler can get it, anglers should really be able to relate.
Good. And that's great to hear. And I've got to do a quick shout out for Claire as well, who listens to the podcast. She doesn't even fly fish, but says that she said to Emma the other day that she really enjoys listening to the podcast. So like you say, if you can reach people that aren't interested in quite or invested in the way that we are, I take those things as huge positives as well. But I wanted to, before we dip into the next section, you talked about art there and expression and creativity. And I saw in your social media that you've been behind the decks and playing some music. Do you see that as creative as well?
Oh yeah. Yeah. What's the point of having these things? I've got 3,000 albums and same again, singles, and what's the point doing it, having them at home? You can only play so many. So what we've done now we're about 8 years in now. We do 4 lost and found events, and it's evolved into, there's 3 of us with all similar sizes of vinyl collections. different genres. You know, we're all into slightly different stuff. So what we do is, we'll do a spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And what we do is we go to our local working men's club and we set up the turntables and we do a night where we don't do requests. We just play records that we love. And then we'll invite another couple of lads in who will bring 5 or 6 singles as well. So then you're always learning off each other. You know, last time we played, did you know that Smoking Joe Frazier, right, the boxer, made a single on Motown, right? Anyway, my friend Paul Panny, he pulls this out of a bag, and he's one of them. His records are always cooler than mine. You know what I mean? And I love that. And he went, have a listen to this. And it was Joe Frazier. And if he hadn't said it was Joe Frazier, I would never have guessed it. It were absolutely banging tune. Brilliant tune. So we're always learning. So it's like a bit of a social club. So there's no rules. We just play great music. It can go wherever you want it to go. They pay us for doing it. It's great. So we just put the money behind the bar and we drink it. So we start at 8 and finish larrups at 12 o'clock at night. And it's brilliant. It's a perfect night. It's absolutely brilliant. And we can do what we want. We have to pinch ourselves because there's no one telling us what to do. They just go, you get crack on. We love it. So we play all sorts. It's great. And it's just nice to be with people face to face.
Is that one of those things where you judge the room? So you say you're playing what you want to play,
Yeah.
but do you judge the room as well? So you say, right, okay, we need to get them up with whatever it may be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're playing to a lot of over 40s, so you can't really go wrong. You know, we've all been through life together. You know, you know that if you put Sympathy for the Devil on or Moving On Up by Primal Scream, you've won them over. Do you know what I mean? Or whatever. You know, one of the. It's funny that my son has been attending. He's only 16. He comes, and when we put Blue Monday on, it still blows everybody away at how far ahead that record was. You know, so we're doing stuff like that, you know, and he does 5 minutes, 10 minutes, plays 3 or 4 records, and he's a big Liam Gallagher fan, so he plays Liam Gallagher, and but then he's learning, he's like talking to people and see which avenue the music's going to take you down, and that's all interesting, isn't it? You know, so we're not trying to. We don't try and piss people off. You know, if you want to put Supremes on, we put the Supremes on. You know, whatever. You know, but we also try and be interesting at the same time. But you know, when the time is right, Candy Statton's going on. You know what I mean? And everybody's dancing. You know, so it's good. It's a real laugh.
Fantastic. Let's dip into the next segment of the book.
Only 10 minutes from home, and all quiet on the club car park as I hurriedly get my waders and gear on. With my beloved barber, I'm not sure who's wearing who anymore, really. And a net slung over my back, I have 3 boxes of flies, 1 spool of mono, forceps and scissors, and my 13-foot vision catapult already set up. Everything I'm using belonged to somebody else at one point, all the way down to my odd wading boots. One is a Gray's, borrowed. The other a Sims, whose partner's felt sole fell victim to the ribble and peeled off. The afternoon is lit up as I stroll across the field to the river, accompanied by my tackle ghosts, music playing in my earbuds. My mood is elevated by the prospect of another roll of the dice, and as I scoot through a stream and head for a pool named Jonah's, I find it at a near perfect height. As usual, there is only me on. To my left is Pendle Hill, cast in a silver wisp of softly spoken cloud, and then turning yellow as the sun breaks through and highlights all of its scars. Time pressed and eroded by pressure. The run I am in is stunning, framed by framed by willow trees on the far bank, dipping the tips of their drooping branches into the pushing water. The flow is perfect, the run is long, and once I'm in, I can fish without stopping for a good 200 metres. The bottom of the pool is signified by one of our fishing huts, and after wading 3 feet deep, I hug a bank that's shrouded by long meadow grass and reeds. Here, Pendle Hill almost feels like it's on top of you, a recumbent ancient monolith, and having decided that this is the run to fish, I aim to go through it twice. The first run through takes nearly 2 hours. At the hut, I give it 20 minutes and then leg it back to the top and start again. No fish have shown as I slowly making my way around the first bend, demonstrating my season in a nutshell, an endless slew of broken promises. My Alan Shearer's Stoat's tail is on my dropper, and my own witch's boo, instead of brew, ravenfly is on point. Looking at Pendle, I mutter a heartfelt plea through gritted teeth. Come on, ladies, I urge. Come on, Terence. Come on, Ahab. Convincing myself that my sink tip is sinking too fast, I make the switch to a 10-foot intermediate and cast. This feels better, and with my playlist now onto Lithium by the Polyphonic Spree, the line, I'm so happy 'cause today I found my friends, they're in my head, has me smiling from ear to ear. I make a cast to the far bank, and almost instantly a salmon hits the fly. Slowly lifting into it, it takes line and steals deep. The Polyphonic Spree is in full flow. The fish is going on a proper run, and because my reel has no clutch, I use my thumb on the spool to slow its pace ahead of another great big head shake. A full-blown belly roll and another run. Marquis Smith is now snarling and telling me how he lost his temper with a friend as his band, The Fall, played Dr. Buck's Letter, and, winding in, I slowly gain ground on what has turned out to be a large coloured codfish. A stalemate ensues as I get over the fish with a short line. The water is heavy and the bank is steep, and looking all around me, I realise there's nowhere to bank the fish. Left-handed, I get the net off my back and placing its head under my foot, I extend it out. 3 times we dance, with me failing to net it, until it's 4th time lucky and I get the fish in. Unbe-fucking-leavable. Where the hell did that come from? What surrealist palate could produce such alchemy? At first, my glad eye thought it was a 20-pounder, but seeing it in the net, I concede to myself that it's more in the region of 16 or 17. Whatever the case, the fish doesn't leave the water. Holding it while wanting it to feel the kick and go was just magical. The culmination of so much effort, joy and love. The happiness coursing through my body must have me looking luminous, lit up like a thermal image on a satellite photo. Energy transferred. Mission accomplished, I trot back to the car like it's the greatest show on earth and replay Lithium in an attempt to recapture the initial brain explosion. Everything is better now. Obviously, I send all my weary blanking mates my good news, and then I phone Lamont to tune him in on my good fortune. He is, as always, surprised as he patronisingly tells me, "Well done, you," before very quickly changing the subject from me to something slightly more obscure. Do you know that bloke who's recording all the fish? He's weeks away from finding out what they're talking about. That night at home, Ams and I celebrate. A game of 2 halves, half a space cake each and half a bottle of red wine. Kitchen disco. From my back door, Pendle Hill is clearly visible, and I realise that something feels out of balance. Raising a toast doesn't seem to be enough of a gesture. This hasn't been a solo effort. From the found feathers donated by the birds and the ghosts of my gear to my desperate plea for help, an equilibrium must be returned. Days like this don't just happen. They must be conjured. As Lithium plays, we honour the day by burning the fly that had caught the fish. After all, if it wasn't skill, it must have been witchcraft.
Really nice, mate. That's some great writing there. And I think a lot of that will resonate with listeners as well. And particularly where you're talking about the one handed netting and putting it under your foot and getting everything ready. But
Oh my
captured,
God,
yeah,
it's like Charlie Caroli's circus, isn't it? Sometimes worst thing you can have is a net.
yeah, getting everything set up and ready. And those moments, like you say, and yeah, that captures everything perfectly. It's a wonderful. I know I've read that a number of times and have enjoyed it every time. And it's lovely. I love for listeners as well that when you get the author, you get a real inside feel of what they were writing and thinking at that moment when they're actually reading it to us as well. So I really enjoyed that and thank you. Boo, how can people find your books should they wish to?
Uh, the www.terminalchancer.co.uk. Everything's on there, or Boo Gilbraith on Instagram. Or if Amazon's your thing, they're all available on Amazon. Just type in the titles of the book or my name.
And you're not going to regret them. Buy them if you want to read something a little bit different. We've published some of Boo's work in Fly Culture from the very first issue and will continue to as well. So they're worth reading. So give those a good look to. I think we're going to go fishing next year, aren't we?
I really hope so. I really hope so. We'll have such a laugh. It'll be great,
Yeah.
and we can hopefully, if we're on a river that's actually got fish in it, that you have half a chance. So, yeah, we can see whose flies are the worst.
My classic ones are going to look absolutely beautiful, but by the time that we do that, there's a good chance that I won't be fishing those. And also, it was fabulous the film Hooked on Hope Damon put together about you. And if again listeners haven't seen it, Damon pitched me this idea quite some time ago and said about at the beginning of the magazine that we have This Is My Life, This Is Fly Culture, and he asked me to mention 5 people that I thought would fit in with this. And the first film that he put out was about you, Boo, and it was fantastic, wasn't it? It captured the essence of fishing and your love and passion for fishing, and importantly about yourself too.
Well, uh, I was absolutely flattered that anybody would be remotely interested. But Damon came up for 2 days, and it was amazing, really, real insight. And then when you saw the film, how he put it together and the narrative he created around it, what a brilliant! I was thrilled. I was absolutely thrilled. People I haven't spoke to for about 20 years were getting in touch with me like I was some kind of big shot. And I'm going, no, you really don't get it. 10 people are going to see this, but now it's had like 25,000 views. But he did he interviewed me for about 2 hours, and my thing is talking too much. Do you know what I mean? And so I thought, oh my God, he's going to stitch at me right up here, throw me under the bus. But he were brilliant. I couldn't have been happier with it. And I listened to your podcast with April Vokey, and she was saying, do you know any incidences of, short films about, salmon bums or trout bums? And you're again, well, I can't think of any at top of me. I don't know. I'm not sure. And I'm shouting at radio. I'm going, you commissioned one. You, you commissioned one. I think a private messaged her and went, there is one. He made it. So, just for Damon should be working in that industry because he makes them films. They're brilliant. He's absolutely fantastic at it. I caught up with him. We had a couple of days fishing without the camera, and it were brilliant this year. Such a nice lad, and we had 2 good days fishing, and it was funny. We talk about the fishing industry and how not everything is all transactional, isn't it? And I said, oh, how do you go on with film? And he said, oh, well, I thought it were going to get picked up by the the independent fly fishers film circuit. I can't remember what it's called, but apparently they loved it, but they didn't want to show it because the Ribble wasn't a destination.
Dear me.
You know, like everything that you're trying to promote is in that film. Here's people, you, me, Damon, who live for the river, right? Who get very little out of it in return of money or whatever. It's non-transactional. Won't that? What brand would that not make look good? You know, if you're a marketing guy, and they just can't see it. Not a destination. I'm like, right, okay, whatever that means. You know. Anyway, there you go. But as a process, it was amazing, Pete, and I can't thank both of you enough.
It was fantastic, and I was thrilled. I guess I'm far too modest to push things, so that's probably the reason that I didn't.
It was
do
brilliant.
that.
I could almost hear you thinking.
Yeah, I'm too polite.
And then you went something about back to trout with the safety net of trout. Trout. Oh yeah, trout are good. Trout are brilliant.
I'm too modest to say those things, but at least I can say on my own podcast, yeah, check that out. I think you're going to enjoy it. So it's called Hooked on Hope. Just have a look on YouTube and you'll find it on there. So we've done it from that point of view. Boo, it's been brilliant to just chew the fat with you this last hour and a bit. Thank you again for being a guest. Thank you for this nice little tradition we're going. Is it okay to wish you a happy Christmas?
Of course it is. Who doesn't want a happy Christmas? Who says have a miserable Christmas?
Well, thank you once again for being a guest on the podcast, mate. It's been brilliant to catch up.
Amazing. Thanks, Pete. Have a good Christmas.
I certainly will. Well, everyone, this has been the festive edition of the Fly Culture podcast. Thank you for listening. And I'll end with a thank you to everyone for the messages that you send to me. I really do appreciate them and they mean the world to me. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for listening. I'm never going to charge you for this. I just love talking about fly fishing. So as ever, there's going to be plenty more coming soon. We'll have a little break over Christmas and then there'll be another one coming out in the new year. But thank you so much for listening to the Fly Culture podcast.
The Fly Culture podcast is brought to you in association with Fly Culture, a quarterly published magazine owned and run by fly anglers. When it comes to fly fishing, we've got you covered.